Yes. Here. You can sit over there. That's fine, and I'll turn it up and we'll figure out how to make it work.
Okay. That's fine. When did you see the one?
She said around noon, yeah.
No, I didn't.
Okay, I think it's like 5:31. If there is no objection, since Dwayne will not be able to join us, as most of you know, he's had COVID and I think is still, he has been hospitalized for part of the time, and he is home, I believe, but still recovering. So if there are no objections, I'd be happy to run the meeting. Hearing no objections, we'll call the December 9th meeting of the Fire Territory, Tri-Township Fire Territory Board to order. And I believe if we were to do roll call, we would see Leanne Aldrich.
Yes.
And Marcia, you are there, correct?
Marcia, yeah, Marcia's here. I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Yep, nope, that's fine. And I am here, so we do have a quorum, and we may continue with the meeting. So Melissa, if you wouldn't mind, I've got the minutes up on the screen, I believe, for those who are on Zoom, but if you wouldn't mind reading them.
Sure. The Delphi Tri-Township Fire Territory Board met on October 28, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. at the fire station. Board members present were Dwayne Ward, Marcia Jarrah, Anita Whirling, and Leanne Aldrich. Member Doris McClellan was absent from the meeting. Also in attendance were Debbie Lowe, Daryl Sterrett, Bill Schock, Justin Darling, and Melissa Darling. Chairman Dwayne Ward called the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Minutes from the September 16th, 2020 meeting were read. Mayor Anita Whirling brought to attention the corrections, the spelling of some names that were needed. Jamie needed to be Jamie. Lapage should be LaPage, and Dean should be D. The minutes were approved as corrected. Under old business, number 1, grass rig. The truck has been delivered. Training on the truck was on 25th of October. There are a few things that will need to be purchased before the truck can go into service. Daryl reported that the invoice for the truck was given shortly after delivery. The invoice had a $9,000 credit on the bill. The invoice has been turned over to Leanne by Daryl. Dan reported that there may have been some questions as if the money for the truck was encumbered from 2019. He reported that the line item 428-00144 has a balance of $44,200 on the current appropriation. Number 2, building use. Dan read through the building use rules that are now given to those that use the conference room. He reported that the Lions Club will be using the building soon for blood drive. Number 3, internet upgrade. The internet upgrade was reported to happen this summer. It is now up and running in the station. Number 4, generator. Houston Electric has come to the station, is currently working on ideas and a quote for the generator installation. After their quote comes in, Dan will get 2 more quotes. Number 5, under old business, the billing resolution. The signed copy of the billing resolution 13-7 cannot be found. Dan will reintroduce the resolution at the December meeting. Dan told the board that she needs a 200 fund established so that she can move funds acquired from insurance billing. If these funds are not moved before the end of the year from the expenditure fund, the department will lose access to spending these funds. Dan told the board he will include the language for the fund establishment within the billing resolution. Under new business, number 1, turnout gear purchase. Dan requested that the board approve the moving of funds from the schooling line item 427-001311 to the gear fund 427-001242. There's a $2,200 shortage in the gear fund to purchase 2 sets of gear. Leanne told Dan there is not funds in the gear fund currently. Dan told her that the state issued the reimbursement for the AEDs, so the funds should be there. Leanne remembered those being received and she would check on the status. of them. The transfer would make up the difference. Leanne made a motion to make the $2,200 transfer from the schooling fund to the gear fund. Marcia seconded, motion passed 4-0. Number 2, ham and bean chili supper will be November 7th. Number 3, the smokehouse. Leanne told the board that the old smokehouse located in the Delphi Body Works lot has fallen into disrepair and has not been used for 3 years. Bill Schaaf told the board that the Delphi Fire owns the smokehouse. Bill told the board that through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there was a huge increase in false fire calls and intentional fires set by youth. The fire department and the schools worked hard at fire prevention, which over time lessened these types of calls. Dan told the board that the schools and the state really limit the department's time with the second graders now. There is not time to use the smokehouse at the schools during fire prevention week. Number 4, under new business, the board set a new date for the November and December board meeting. It will be December 9th at 5:30 p.m. I need a whirling motion to adjourn the meeting. Marcia Kara seconded, meeting adjourned.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes? Or at first, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? I move that we accept them. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by aye. I am an aye. Leanne?
Aye.
Marcia?
Aye.
Motion carries and the minutes are approved. So I don't believe that we have other items of the agenda other than Dan's report. Is that correct, Dan?
That's correct.
Okay, and stop this share, and if you would like to go ahead with that.
For the budget agenda. Okay, just some updates, I guess, to make sure that I'm doing this right. As far as the generator goes, Houston Electric provided a quote for the generator, and it was $57,300. Jeremy Starrett quoted a generator at $23,918. So I feel like it's important to discuss the differences there. I explained to Houston Electric what we thought we needed done to the electric service at the station to switch them from 400 amp service to 200 amps. And I explained to them that we probably needed a mid-level, mid-sized generator, and told them, you know, exactly what we needed to power during an emergency. And their quote was for a 58,000 watt natural gas generator, which I think would pretty much power the whole city block. So their generator cost with installation was $43,900, and to fix the electrical or upgrade the electrical was an additional $13,400, which brought the total project cost to what I have on the form there, $57,300. Jeremy Starrett provided a quote to me to change the 400 amps to the 200 amp panel, and he quoted a 30,000 watt natural gas generator. The generator itself was a cost of $11,568. The rest is shipping and work to install it and upgrade the electrical, and that came to a total of $23,918. So the first reason the price is so different is that Houston Electric only wanted to sell me a huge generator that would not fit on the side of the building. It would take up at least the parking space that we have behind the building, compared to the generator quote that Jeremy provided. The third company that I contacted was Wolf Electric out of Flora, and they do electrical projects and also install generators, but I was not contacted back from them. If we decide to go with the quote that Starrett Mechanical provided, I feel that we would be able to pay the entire amount quoted using 2020 budget funds and not have to encumber any amounts to pay for the rest at a later time. And I have that broken down in the budget agenda that I emailed out. $16,730 would come from our current capital improvement fund. There are 3 places where I asked to transfer available money into the building maintenance fund. So all 3 of those transfers are from a 300 number into a 300 number. So I don't believe it needs a motion to do that transfer. But with those transfers, it would bring the building maintenance balance to $7,300, which would cover the cost of the installation and the purchase of the generator with the electrical upgrades to the station. $23,980.
So how much is that?
So the question is, how much of Jeremy's quote was labor compared to the other companies? Jeremy's quote for labor is $3,000. The Houston Electric quote does not separate purchase price and labor in their quotes. The only separation they have is the package deal for the installation and purchase of the generator and transfer switch at $43,900, and then the upgrades to the service panel at $13,400.
So if Jeremy's labor is 3,000, what's the rest of
Okay, yes. The question is, if Jeremy's labor is $3,000, what is the rest of that? The 400 amp transfer switch compatible with the generator is $3,200.
the part?
Yes, the switch that would automatically transfer the power over, and I believe he said it's Wi-Fi. It would send alerts to your phone if the power's at like whatever the highest current technology is. The other cost is a new 200 amp electrical panel at $1,700. The wire and conduit associated with the electrical upgrades and the installation of the generator was $2,700. The gas line to run from our current meter to the generator location on the side of the building, it says gas line and support, is $1,100. So then again, the labor is $3,000. The Guardian 30 kW generator is $11,568. The concrete pad to place the generator on is $400, and the shipping, handling, and delivery for the generator is $250.
Would they be able to do this work yet this year, or is this for next year?
I believe they would. It depends on generator availability, and I think a lot of those things are really delayed as far as how available they are, whether it's a washing machine, a couch, or a generator. But I could find that out.
So, what you were saying.
Oh, yes, I did. She said, Marcia asked that I mentioned I wouldn't have to encumber the money, but I guess that would be dependent on generator availability.
You can't pay for it.
Right.
Crap.
Yes. So I guess I misspoke there. I guess what I would mean is we wouldn't need to use some of this year's funds and then match it up with some capital funds or building maintenance funds from next year. Like we would be able to use the funds that we currently have available, and if we have to encumber them, there still wouldn't be any money coming out of next year's budget to pay for this project.
So we would have to encumber it, but it wouldn't come out of 21's budget.
The question
There's enough to encumber it.
Marcia asked if we did have to encumber it, that we may have to encumber it, but none would have to come out of next year's actual budget, and that's correct. I actually just got I sent that email today, and I just got the quote on this 3 days ago. I had the Houston Electric quote for a while, but Jeremy's quote just came in 3 days ago.
So Dan, are you asking tonight for approval then of the estimate from Sterrett Mechanical for the generator?
So, I guess what my first question is if I have to find a third vendor, I don't know who that vendor would be since the other vendor didn't call me back, or if that counts as a no bid.
Don't you have to get a bid when it's that high, third bid?
Certainly for 75 and over you do. Leanne, what is the purchasing policy for?
In the policy, read it, but I thought you had to have 3 bids on 75 and over.
Okay.
You have to offer it for bid underneath that, but I would have to get the policy back out and read it. I think the fire territory adopted a purchase policy, that just, was state code.
Okay.
So since this is less than 75,000, as the anticipated cost of the system, would 3 be required or 2?
I don't think 3 would be required. You offered it 2-3. You got 2 back. We've had situations before where we offered bids to specific people and they declined. So, I don't think so, and you're way under the 50,000, so I don't think it's an issue. But I think we could clear it by looking at the fire department policy and make sure.
So,
She's looking for something right now.
Okay, are you wanting a motion now to approve Sarah's bid?
If we can verify that that it wouldn't be a violation of any policy to have 2 bids at this cost, then I would ask yes.
I not make a motion to approve Jeremy Sarah's bid subject to reviewing the purchase policy.
Okay.
Would that not work, Anita?
that should work.
Well, then, in that case, I make a motion to accept the offer from Sterrett Mechanical for $23,918. That is my total, Dan?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And that motion depends upon reviewing the purchase policy to make sure we're not doing anything against code.
Okay, hold on. Marcia has a question. Oh, do we have to have a second first before questions are answered? Okay, I'm sorry.
I would second that.
Okay.
Now, sounds like Marcia has a question.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry. There you go. If a third vendor is not required based on the amount.
Then, so if a third vendor is not required, or if it's the fact that we've gone to 3 vendors and only 2 have responded, then we are good to go with this.
What exactly are we general? What are we?
Powering.
Powering.
Okay, so the question is with the generator, what we would be powering at the station in an outage. And the way that it would be set up is we would power everything in the station except for the large air compressor that we use to fill the tires on the truck and the large compressor that we use to fill the air pack bottles after a fire. We initially looked at a 22,000 or kW generator, but we felt with the overhead exhaust fans kicking on or the water heater, it would be best to have a little extra, especially if something were to be added to the station at a later time. So we didn't have the absolute upper limit with the 22 kW, so that's why we went with 30. As far as why we chose to not power the air compressor for the tires was we very rarely use that. The air compressor for the air pack bottles could be something that we obviously would use. We have about 20 air packs. We have 43 total bottles, so we already have spares. And then if it was a week-long outage and there was a large fire, other departments in our automatic response aid area have the ability to fill those bottles. We also have the ability to fill the bottles off of our rescue truck. We could probably fill our bottles, at least all of our bottles twice off the rescue truck before we would even need the compressor upstairs.
We could shut something else off.
Or we could transfer some things back and forth if we really needed to make it work. Yeah. Okay. That was the answer. That was her question.
Any further questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor, and we'll do this by roll call. So Leanne,
Aye.
Marcia,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So the motion carries for the, to accept the bid from Starrett Mechanical, subject to review of the purchasing policy.
If the generator availability is after the first of the year, what do we have to do to be able to encumber that money to be able to use it?
What we're doing at the city is scheduling a meeting on December 30th to deal with any encumbrances and transfers. So my feeling, and Leanne, please weigh in, would be that we would need to do something similar with the fire territory so that the board could handle any encumbrances or transfers at that time. Leanne?
Yes, but you're not going to be able to use an invoice. You will have to use, let me see if I'm remembering. All right, it has to be either a purchase agreement or a contract. And I think there's no way someone's doing a contract for this amount of money, so a purchase agreement would have to be handled in order to do with it.
And does
Along with your request, a purchase order would have to accompany it, in order for the council to approve it.
and then do I generate that, or does the vendor?
You do.
Okay.
I think we generate the purchase order and then send it to them, and they have to sign it, and then return it back.
Okay, and then then it makes it a purchase agreement.
Correct.
I got you. Okay. Right. Okay. So the next item I have is we received the bill or the invoice for the internet service upgrades from Sound Advice. This was mentioned a few meetings back. The original quote from Sound Advice was $2,297. The invoice amount was $2,407. So this was a needed upgrade to the department, but it was not something that we anticipated for last year's budget. I was going through the appropriations reports and found that there is $2,500 in the building insurance fund, which I'm guessing is because we probably just paid all of the insurances out of maybe the liability or the some other insurance line item. So since that money is there, I'm asking to transfer $2,500 from the building insurance fund, which ends in 340, to the telephone account that ends in 350, and then I would pay that internet new phone service out of the telephone account for $2,407.
Okay, Dan, I got this email late this afternoon, and I apologize. I was working with Beth on checkbooks after the bus shop, so she worked on them while I was gone. I didn't have time to do a strong study on this. But right now, your telephone line is negative $279.48. You will have another phone bill for your cell phone this month. So it will be a little bit more than that.
Okay.
The other thing, so that makes you negative $279.48. If you put your $2,500 with it, you then have a positive number of $2,200, $220.52. So you're still short to reach your 2,400.
Yes. I actually, on the last page of this, I had an item to discuss current overages in the funds. So I'm glad you brought that up. I believe I have about $600 left in the office supply category, which is a 200 number as well. That once we figure out what the overages are in the telephone or some of the other 200 numbers, I could use that fund to transfer into that to pay those charges.
Leanne, would that also be an end of year meeting?
Yes, because all transfers are going to have to be approved by the council too.
So I had a question on that.
See, I think, had we done this in the month of November, we could justify saying that the budget, we did not need this money in this line item because we're then totally legal to take from a 200 number down to a 300 or a 600. It's not an issue at that point. But when you get down into December, then it's obvious you're covering negative amount. And then in order to cover a negative amount, you have to take it from a like number. You can't just pull it out of the air.
Right.
We could go ahead. We could go ahead and make the statement on our transfers that that the Fire Territory Board approved this because budget was not needed in certain line items, so it was moved. And the council could agree that would suffice, and we could use that.
So all of the transfers that I have listed on this agenda tonight are within the same, like they're all 200 to 200 or 300 to 300. Because I remember the last time you told me it requires more approvals if it's 300 to 200, but all of these, including the overage coverage to the telephone bill, coming out of office supply, even though that's not listed on this sheet, both of those are also 200 numbers.
But you're then putting it into a telephone, which is a 300 unit.
Oh, yes, I see that now. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize.
As long as your board agrees to it, that it was not needed in the budget as anticipated and set up for.
I'm sure I have.
So if I'm understanding, what we would do, what the board would do tonight, if they concur, would be to approve these transfers, subject to approval, with a recommendation, a positive recommendation to the common council, which will meet on December 30th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Dan, is that okay with you?
That is fine with me. I would say that I probably have 300 fund money. I mean, if I were to go through it, whatever's easiest for the board, honestly.
Or is it all going from, let's say, transferring from 300 to 300?
In all of the instances on the form, yes, but to cover that, if we were to want to cover the telephone bill with the office supply money, that would be the one that's the different fund numbers.
Then you would have money. It looks like it's taking one.
Yes, and like I said, if we're $400 short on a 300 number to cover the phone bill, I feel like I would be able to cover that with a 300 fund. I just don't have all of the current updated things with me right now. Like,
Yes, you should be able to do that, Dan. I'm just glancing through it, and there shouldn't be a problem.
So what, if any, transfers, Dan, would you need approval from, or a positive recommendation from the Fire Territory Board?
as far as transfers go, I feel pretty comfortable saying that I don't need any approval. I feel like I have the funds available, even with the other transfers that I have listed farther on this list within the same 100 group, to be able to cover the phone bill. Obviously right now it's showing I'm $279 short. I don't know if Leanne, is there a way to project how much more we would be paying this year?
Not that much more.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so there isn't an issue. I do not think you're going to have, it will be an easy transfer to make from another near 300 number.
Okay.
So it's such a small amount that you're covering here, Dan, that it will not be an issue.
Okay.
So then it sounds as if the only thing that would be left for potential council approval would be the encumbrance if you're not able to get the generator this month. Does that sound right?
Yes, does to me.
So it sounds as if the transfers are kind of off the table. You can take care of those within the same 100 numbers.
Sure.
And if you are able to locate, if they can locate and get the generator this month and get that paid for, great. If not, if it has to be ordered and won't come in until next year, then you'll do a purchase order, get a purchase agreement signed, and bring that, have that on the docket for the council on December 30th as an encumbrance. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Marcia asked if I knew if Jeremy had availability to do it this month, and I will have to call him as soon as we get done with the meeting to find out.
Okay. But if he does not, or if the equipment is not available, then, the encumbrance, would apply, and you could go ahead and,
Yeah.
do the purchase order and get the purchase agreement and present that, for the docket on the 30th, and we should be, able to go with that. Leanne, does the Fire Territory Board need to, do we need to make a favorable recommendation on that, pending?
Yes. The board has to be in agreement to do that.
Okay, I lost there.
We'll say you.
Oh, okay.
Someone want to make a motion to that effect?
Sure. I'll make a motion that if, Barrett Mechanical is unavailable or the material cannot be purchased in time, then the Fire Territory would approve and recommend to the council that an encumbrance would be done to satisfy for this bill.
With a purchase agreement being executed?
Yes.
I would second that. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we're ready for the vote. Leanne,
Aye.
Marcia,
I,
and I am an aye. Motion carries. Okay, what else you got for us, Dan?
Okay, the last meeting, we approved the transfer of $2,200 from the 300 fund schooling to the 242 fund gear. There's a transfer within the same fund, $500 from postage to cover some glove purchase. But I just had the invoice sent to me today for the 2 sets of gear that we want to purchase, and it comes to $4,511.95. And then we need to get fire gloves and extrication gloves, and that quote, I just was able to print it off before the meeting started, was $1,560. So neither of those items are available until after the first of the year. I'm sure that some of the gloves might trickle in the next week or so, but the entire order of gloves will not. And then the gear, they said it's probably 6 months to make it. They're really far behind. So I'm asking for an encumbrance request for $5,670 from the 2020 gear fund to the 2021 gear fund, or however that's supposed to be worded. I have the they sent me what they called a pro forma invoice, because they typically don't invoice until after the after the stuff is made or manufactured. But I told them that I needed some type of documentation for that, and they sent me a pro forma invoice for the 2 sets of gear and another one for the gloves.
Leanne, is a pro forma okay?
No, and let's back me up just a little bit here. Your gloves are gonna cost $1,560.
Yes.
Your gear is gonna cost you $4,511.95.
Yes.
That's
So-
the total.
Right. So then we would need to use some of the 2021 funds out of the gear line item to pay for the rest of the gloves.
Then you're gonna have to encumber them.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Does he need a purchase order?
Yeah,
So you've got the pro forma invoice, but if you issue a purchase order for that, for those items, and then get that purchase order signed as an agreement, then you know, you have what you need for the council on the 30th.
Okay,
Does that make sense, Dan?
it does, yep.
Okay, and so, similarly, are there other items like this that will need to be encumbered?
No.
Okay, so let's go ahead and deal with this encumbrance then, as we did with the last. And, Leanne, you're so good at making these motions, would you, do you help us out here again?
sure. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve, an encumbered totaling $5,670. And that $5,670 will pay most of the bill, with a partial payment out of the 2021 budget. And I'm gonna make it as, it also has to have a purchase order encumbering the encumbrance in order to give a favorable recommendation to the council.
Okay. Marcia, do you want to second that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion of that motion? Hearing none, let's take the vote. Leanne,
Aye.
Marcia,
Aye.
and I am an aye. Motion carries. Okay, Dan?
Okay, the next one would be, oh, I'm sorry.
Who seconded that motion? Sorry.
Marcia?
Thank
The next item on the form is a request to approve a purchase. We would like to continue to build our 800 megahertz radio supply. We currently don't have enough for all of our members, and we found that it's actually become a safety risk at some of our scenes, especially with other departments responding. So what I'm asking for is to purchase 4 Harris brand multi-band portable radios at a cost of $3,506.90, 5 Harris 800 megahertz portable radios at a cost of $2387.80, speaker microphones for each of the radios, and then the software, cables, and hardware that would support those radios. So just a quick thing, the multi-band radios would be provided to the 4 chiefs. It would allow them to be able to communicate on the, what we'll call the old VHF system and the 800 megahertz system from the same radio. The 5 just 800 megahertz portable radios would go to firefighters, which would actually get us to the point where we have enough for each firefighter. That total cost comes to $28,662. There's a breakdown of how we would pay for that. The first $21,974 would come out of the remaining 2020 capital funds. $5,000 would come out of the radio line item that we currently have for 2020, and the $1,750 that would cover the software and the cables and the computer functionality of that would come out of the 2020 computer software fund. That's a lot of money, and I know that we typically would want another, like another vendor or another quote. We had typically had Motorola radios in the past. However, they're pricey, mainly because they say Motorola. The multi-band Motorola was about just under $6,000. The single band Motorola was $3,140. So they're about $1,000 to $1,500 more expensive for Motorola. The Harris vendor is an Indiana vendor, and the county emergency management agency and the EMS have been purchasing Harris radios because they're cheaper, and they still function just as well and sometimes even better as the Motorola's.
So who is the vendor on this?
The vendor is Advanced Radio Communications out of Jasper, Indiana, is the main vendor. Move Over Outfitters is a vehicle communication upfitting company out of Lafayette, and they are the local connection, or if there was something that we needed updated or looked into, they would be able to do it locally in Lafayette. No, it's something that we had wanted to buy. We didn't get the grant for the 800 radios that we put in for, which would have allowed us to buy like 18 of them. But this is just a way to try to get those numbers up, to get one to each person. The last time we bought 800 megahertz radios was, I think, in 2015, and they bought 10